Hi there, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to get prepared for the upcoming school year. Now, I know a lot of you are probably just settling into summer, dipping your toes in the pool, maybe sipping on some margaritas and all of that, but some of you are new teachers and you probably have a little bit of anxiety about the upcoming school year. And so I'm just gonna give you a few tips and tricks to use over the summer to help you prepare yourself for those first couple of days of school so you can kind of ease that anxiety and get right down to business and be ready to go. Let's get started. All right, so first let me say that summer is a time for relaxation for teachers, and you should not be overwhelming yourself with more things to do. But I do know that many of you are overachievers and you want to start thinking about the upcoming school year. And some of you are brand new teachers and you may have a little bit of anxiety and not really know where to start or what to do. So I thought that I would do a video today about certain things you can do over the summer right now to prepare yourself for the upcoming school year. Now, some teachers, their first day starts the day they walk in on campus and the day their contract begins. And that is totally fine. I have worked with lots of people like that where they did absolutely nothing over the summer and then they walk into their classroom, flip on the lights, and that's when they begin. And then there are other people who really want to prepare and kind of think about the year. So both teachers are wonderful. It is your right not to do anything over the summer, and I do recommend lots of relaxation. But you may want to prepare, especially if you are a new teacher, for the upcoming year. And the main way in which you can do that is to start with the state standards. So that's what this video is going to be about today. We're going to focus specifically on looking at the standards and the scope and sequence to begin your year. Now, I tell this story a lot, so you might have heard it. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But when I was a new teacher, I basically got the teacher edition textbook, a key to the classroom, and a good luck. That's what I got. That was my teacher training. And it was kind of sink or swim. I myself thrive in those situations. Other people do not thrive in those situations. So I wish I had had just a little bit of training, especially about the standards, because about 3-4 weeks into my teaching, the assistant principal of curriculum walked in and asked me if I was teaching to the standards. She must have seen my instruction, wondered what the heck I was doing, and then said, "You are teaching to the standards, right?" And my response was, "Absolutely, I'm teaching to the standards." I had no idea that there were academic standards, and I had no idea that I was supposed to be using them to guide my instruction. So I am here to save you from that embarrassment and show you how to locate the standards, how to use them, and how to just get a general plan quickly for you to kind of think about as you're moving into your first year or first weeks of school. Now, every state has its own set of standards, and most states use the Common Core standards. Now, I know a lot of people are like, no, the Common Core, that's just, we have our own standards and all of that. Most state standards follow the Common Core standards. So you can use the Common Core standards to guide your instruction, but you may also want to go specifically to your state Department of Education website and find the standards on your state website. That is going to help you tremendously. So I just decided to use North Carolina as my go-to here today. This can be for any state, but I've been getting a lot of requests from North Carolina teachers. So I thought, let me see what North Carolina has in terms of their resources for teachers and standards. So all I did was type into the Google machine, North Carolina Department of Education, standards and curriculum. And when I did, this page popped up here. Now they have a lot of good resources here. And when I went into the K-12 standards, I came to this page here. When I scroll down, I see all these different blocks here of all the content areas that you might be teaching. Now, other states, it'll look different. Like in Florida, they have something called CPALMS, and it's a whole website with all the standards listed. They organize them in different ways, but just know that on your State Department website for education, you should be able to locate the standards. If you can't locate the standards relatively easily, then you may want to make a phone call or send an email and say, where the heck do I find my standards? But because we're so standards driven in this country, especially for education, there should be somewhere on your state's website to locate the academic standards. So you can see here, if I were a math teacher, I would click mathematics here. When you do, they have this kind of resource pages here. There's tools, there's professional development. Now you can get lost in a lot of this stuff, and I know this because I used to work as a curriculum person downtown. This can often be a dumping ground for just so many resources that you get overwhelmed by the amount of resources. I recommend just going to the standards for now and seeing what it is you're responsible for teaching your students. So I'm just going to click this standards button here. And when I do, you can see that we have standards and unpacking documents. We've got elementary, middle, math 1 to 3, and then 4th level math. This looks like it's going to be high school. All right. So let's go to elementary. Let's keep it simple. You can see here we have K through 5. And again, we have all of these little resources here, instructional resources, assessment, stuff like that. I'm just going to keep it simple. Let's say I'm a 3rd grade teacher. I'm going to be teaching math. I want to figure out what I'm responsible for. When I do, it takes me to another page. You can see standards, unpacking, it does it again. I'm just going to go straight to the standards. And this page gets brought up here. So let me just zoom in a little bit for you there. All right. And you can see that we have operations and algebraic thinking here. We have number and operations in base 10 here. We have fractions. We have measurement and data. And we have geometry. Now, we really want to pay attention to the scope and sequence because we don't want to be teaching geometry first before they have operations and algebraic thinking or number sense. Obviously, geometry is going to be a more complex skill for a 3rd grader. So these typically go in order, and there will be documents to tell you how this works. So let's just take a look at this particular standard here. We have NC.3.OA.1. And the way this works is NC is the state. This 3 here is 3rd grade. This OA stands for Operations Algebraic Thinking. That's how they abbreviate here. And this is the strand here, 1. And this is the standard right here for products of whole numbers with 2 factors up to and including 10. Interpret the factors in representing the number of equal groups, blah, 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 and it explains it there. Now, let's say you're a new teacher and you're like, I don't know what that means. That's totally fine. You're not alone. All you have to do is drop it into Google, and there will probably be a video somewhere of a teacher teaching this exact thing. So you might want to just drop into Google, interpret the factors of equal groups or something like that, and then you'll get an idea. Now, I'm not saying you should spend your whole summer dissecting the standards and not resting or anything like that, but it certainly helps you to feel a little more confident if you can take a look at these standards, figure out exactly what it is you're responsible for teaching the students, and then go into the school year feeling good, like, I got this. I know we got operations and algebraic thinking first. I know what I'm doing. And you can see this is, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections here. What do we have? 4 quarters in a school year. If you don't have the luxury of a scope and sequence, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, you can kind of break this up yourself here. And you can talk to other people in your department and team and figure out how they're breaking it up. Most likely you will have a team meeting, especially if you're an elementary teacher, and probably a more seasoned peer coach teacher will help you kind of scope and sequence this out. And when I say scope and sequence, I'm saying what you're teaching at what time, okay? But it certainly helps just to kind of maybe print this thing out when you're laying on the beach. Maybe just take a look, couple minutes, not all day, and just see exactly what you're responsible for. Now, if you're an elementary school teacher, obviously you're going to have math standards, you're going to have science standards, you're going to have social science standards, you're going to have English language arts standards. So you're going to have several different packets of information here. That's just how it is as an elementary school teacher. If you are a social studies teacher in high school, you're obviously only going to have one set of standards. So it just depends on what you're teaching and at what level. Now, hopefully, if you are in a district, you can go to your district website and they will most likely have a scope and sequence for you. So we went from the state standards first, state standards, to the district website for the scope and sequence. You can also find the standards on your district website as well. And it may be easier for you to navigate the district website. The state website is all the districts, right? So it may just be a little complicated. So you may want to go right straight to your district and look and see what they have there. I looked up scope and sequence for 6th grade social studies and for Guilford County schools. Shout out to Guilford County school teachers out there. This is the scope and sequence for social studies for 6th grade. And what this does is it kind of lines up your whole year and tells you what you should be doing. Notice here on this side here, it has the number of days. All right. So traditional duration is about 18 days, calendar days, 1 to 18. And it has the standards here that you are going to be responsible for. So yeah, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 standards here, but they're big standards. We're talking about the development of civilization, societies and regions. There's a lot going on here, so this is more of a geography. We have essential concepts that they line up for you here. These can be part of your objectives, and I do have a whole video on objectives that I'll link up here, so make sure you take a look at that. And I have a couple other videos that will go with this video I'll link up that work really well. But you can see that this is the scope and sequence. So maybe while you're, sipping on your margarita this summer, you just kind of have that, and maybe you work with your friend and you kind of go through how you're going to, attack this particular school year. Now, the school year in its entirety is a lot. To plan your whole year, you're going to be disappointed because things are going to happen and you're going to have to go back and reteach and things like that. But it certainly helps to plan maybe the first couple weeks or the first quarter so that you're not caught off guard. And here, this scope and sequence, I don't even have to go to the state standards. They're already lined up right here. And this is what my district expects me to do. Now, I'll tell you what, this is a great plan because if you can use this and work backwards and your principal comes in to observe you, you won't have the same problem I had when my principal was like, she is obviously not teaching the standards. You will be prepared and ready for that observation, whether it's informal or formal. Another thing you may want to consider is printing out this scope and sequence for your students to have in their binder. It's always good to let students and parents know the expectation, and having the scope and sequence for them will really help. So again, this is for Guilford County schools. You may be in another state, in another district. All you have to do is go to your district website and type in scope and sequence for 6th grade English language arts, right? And if you can't find it there, you can always shoot an email to the curriculum department and they should be able to get you those resources. Now, beyond that, there are lots of resources on these websites. So let's go back to some of this. So this is North Carolina Department of Education. So this is the whole state here, not just the district, the entire state. And you can see that there are resources here. When I click on that, I kind of get a lot of stuff going on here, which can be very overwhelming. And this happens a lot on state websites. The curriculum department wants to give you everything you can possibly use, and they end up kind of overwhelming you. But you may want to click around here and see if there's anything good that you want to use. Pinterest is also a pretty awesome place to check out to see different things you can use. Your fellows in your school to help you, or your peer teacher. And of course, always working with your teams or your PLCs to decide what you want to do. YouTube is a great place to find ideas for different instructional practices and ideas and things like that. So this is a great place to start, but you can get overwhelmed with all the resources here. And unfortunately for this, and I'll just bring this up, some of this turns out to be 404 pages. Some of these pages are broken, which is unfortunate. It happens. No judgy. North Carolina, we love you, but you do have some broken pages on your website that you may want to fix. Happens to all of us. No big deal. All right, so hopefully this little tip about kind of preparing yourself over the summer to get ready for that school year will help you. Remember, you don't want to spend your whole summer cramming, trying to figure out what you're going to do this year, but it certainly helps to take a look at the standards and figure out what you're responsible for in the first quarter and determine maybe some activities you want to do. Plus, a lot of you are really stoked about becoming teachers, and it might be fun to get together with your friends, pour some margaritas, open up those standards, take a look at what's going on, and kind of trade some practices and see how you're going to attack the school year. Hopefully this helped you today. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and tell your colleagues we're here. Thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome summer and an awesome school year.